Well, good evening. It's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight,
The reason the Prime Minister picked Peter Mandelson was because we want to do things differently. We recognise the important relationship between our two countries, and I think Peter Mandelson will be a brilliant ambassador for us and will form a very strong partnership with the new administration.
well, that didn't age well, did it? Because breaking tonight, Morgan McSweeney, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, finally resigns over the Mandelson scandal embroiling Westminster and this beleaguered government. It's been announced tonight that Keir Starmer is set to address his MPs tomorrow. But what does the British public think?
Keir Starmer represents the metropolitan elite and not the people of the UK.
Well, I've got some real exclusives for you. Today, I went onto the streets of Keir Starmer's own constituency and asked if the people there thought he should resign next.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the very first anti-racist virtual world, Perthyn.
And I'm exposing yet another propaganda game, this time aimed at Welsh children, funded by you, the taxpayer. It talks about black feminism, Karl Marx, decolonisation and anti-racist mathematics. It is bonkers. Also, counter-terror police examine alleged Iran-linked propaganda channel in London. That's, of course, after GB News' own Charlie Peters blew the lid open on this story just months ago. And
grooming gangs.
Grooming gangs.
Grooming gang. Prosecutors are failing rape gang victims by not treating crimes against white working-class girls as hate crimes. That has been claimed by one of the survivors. We'll be digging into it. And
I embraced the Christian faith, and very sad to say, from that moment on, we suffered persecution.
a British man who says he was persecuted even for converting to Christianity claims the authorities are paralysed by fear of Muslim backlash. His warning is pretty stark. Never, ever allow Sharia into mainstream politics like it has been in the UK. And joining me to talk about these explosive stories, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee's back, businessman and activist Adam Brooks is here, and academic and broadcaster Lisa Mackenzie's here too. Listen, this is a huge show. We've got two massive exclusives even. Do you think sorry cuts it, or does the Prime Minister really need to resign?
I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him.
All right, let's begin with the breaking news that this evening, Morgan McSweeney, the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister, has resigned in the wake of the Peter Mandelson scandal. The Prime Minister's right-hand man quit after backlash to him pushing for Lord Mandelson to be appointed ambassador to the USA, of course, has blown up in his face. That's despite being warned twice by civil servants about the peer's ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Well, it's understood that Sir Keir Starmer is expected to address his Parliamentary Labour Party at a meeting of the PLP, the Parliamentary Labour Party, and his MPs tomorrow on Monday. Will this resignation of Morgan McSweeney be enough to save Sir Keir Starmer's premiership? And joining me now is our political editor, Christopher Hope. Chris, thanks for coming on the show this evening. Give us the latest on this. We're expecting, of course, the Prime Minister to address the Labour Party, at least his parliamentary party, tomorrow. What are you expecting to hear from the Prime Minister?
Alex, great to be on the show too. Look, we had heard earlier from Number 10 that he would speak to the nation today from the country as early as tomorrow. We're now expecting that to happen later this week because, frankly, the most important meeting he can do right now is to speak to his own backbenchers, and that's happening tomorrow night. It's a make or break meeting. It's the mass meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party. It's absolutely vital that goes down well. One senior Labour MP has told me this tonight, that Keir Starmer has to come out fighting and do what needs to be done to cleanse politics. That includes people around him. The sterile test has to be, do they have Peter Mandelson's phone number in their contacts? This clock is ticking. This has to be announced and implemented immediately. There's real pressure here on Sir Keir Starmer. And I've been to quite a few of these meetings of backbenchers, particularly during the Tory years. One of those, of course, I remember vividly after, I think it was the May 2020, May 2019 European elections, when Theresa May said, I will go, and set out a timeline for her exit. Now, will Keir Starmer do that tomorrow with his backbenchers? Will he say, right, I recognise the game's up, I'm going to go at some point, and there'll be an orderly handover of power to someone else? Now, I don't think so. I think that these PMs, and I've covered a lot of them over my 2 or 3 decades doing this, they know they're writing the first line of their obituary every single day they're at work, and they don't want to give it up too easy or too quickly. That's why you saw Theresa May hang on well past her shelf life, and Boris Johnson too. It may take some resignations from other members of the cabinet who feel they've gone as far as they can. I should say it's not clear who would replace Sir Keir Starmer. Angela Rayner, she was judged to have breached the ministerial code, fallen short of the requirements to be in office 5 months ago, last September. Why is she now appropriate to be Prime Minister? She may or may not have paid her tax bill as well. Wes Streeting, well, he certainly is close to Peter Mandelson, and frankly, he's a live rail in politics right now. If you go near him in politics, any contact with him, you explode, and that's why I think Wes Streeting has a problem. He's also not so popular with the party at large. And so, who else could it be? And you run out of names very quickly. Don't forget, Andy Burnham is not an MP. He's still the mayor of Greater Manchester. So very quickly, it's like saying to somebody, "Let's move house," but then not have a house to move to. So what's the end game by getting rid of Sir Keir Starmer? I think that, if nothing else, might mean he survived to live another day. But this is the biggest crisis Sir Keir Starmer has faced since becoming Prime Minister in July 2024. Morgan McSweeney was simply his living and breathing political guru. He told him where to go, where to go, what to do politically, because that is something which Sir Keir Starmer lacks. Anyone in politics has to be ahead of the game, can't be behind it. And particularly if you're the Prime Minister, you have to go on the B of the bang. Well, Sir Keir Starmer goes on the G of the bang, frankly. He's far too often led by events, not leading them. Tomorrow is a massive day.
So much. I've got a senior Labour MP statement here that I'll just read out on behalf of Chris there. Starmer has come out fighting and do what needs to be done to cleanse politics. This includes people around him. The sterile test has to be, do they have Peter Mandelson's phone number in their contacts? The clock is ticking. This has to be announced and implemented immediately. All right, moving on, because I'm exposing yet another propaganda tool, this time one funded by the Welsh Government to push onto Welsh kids as part of Welsh Labour government's plan to make Wales an anti-racist country. It talks about black feminism, anti-white racist world timeline, anti-racist mathematics, anti-racist inventions, decolonisation, and an anti-racist look at the British Empire. There's also a massive feature on black hair and skin. Let me tell you this, it is riddled with communism and Marxism. And I'm genuinely not even joking, they do even reference Karl Marx. Here's a first look.
This world is here for us to learn about one another, as well as ourselves. I invite you to explore this world, to listen to the stories, to engage with the histories, to experience the innovative lessons, all of which have been crafted to help us in becoming an anti-racist nation.
Right, well, let me tell you this. I have spent hours going through these modules on this weird 3D metaverse they've created that only someone like Mark Zuckerberg could have thought up. And trust me, it's dystopian, it is weird, and it is really propaganda. There's no balance across any of it. And you can tell it's written by somebody who's got an agenda, if that's my opinion. Let's jump into anti-racist mathematics. Now, when you traverse yourself through this 3D metaverse you can see here, you go to sort of walk around to different places. And this anti-racist mathematics course aims to uncover the true anti-racist, decolonised version of the history of modern-day number system. It covers different number systems from different civilizations and calculates using those number systems to get a feel of how arithmetic was used in the past by different peoples, right? This is just a start here. So we now know mathematics is racist, right? Let's jump over to the hair and beauty room, because that's really critical, isn't it? Really critical stuff about tackling racism. And here, in this next part you're going to see, they describe different types of hair. And it, of course, mostly focuses on black people's hair. I can't stress this enough. This whole part of learning here feels like one of the longest modules. They have on this, at least only it seems, to be talking about black people's hair. I didn't find any other mention in their module about any other race or ethnicity when it came to making beauty anti-racist, which in itself seems, I don't know, a little bit racist, right? They complain that Eurocentric beauty standards have forced black women to straighten their hair, and other such claims are made throughout that module. We've also got modules on African philosophy and how anti-black racism against sub-Saharan African peoples led to many falsehoods about their histories and thoughts like presumptions about that Africans didn't have any philosophy. You can see this is one of the modules here. You can go and learn about that too. And then there's this. It's their module on sociology. It's a lovely spotlight here on one man in the middle. You can see him just there, Karl Marx. Of course, the founder of the political philosophy of Marxism, which led to communism, which of course has led to the deaths of tens, if not hundreds of millions of people all over the world. Then there's also a module on decolonising politics, which I'm sure is totally politically unbiased view of the British Empire. As you can see here, they've got a nice little notice that the kids who virtually march along this stuff can read at their leisure. Alongside that, there's a module on what they call the anti-racist world timeline, right? I don't understand that. They make the thinly guised claim that maps are racist, and that maps of the British Empire are also used to promote, this is their quote, were used to promote British nationalism and patriotism and to portray the British people as a superior and civilised people, right? That's what they claim. There's also a segment on the Me Too movement, do you remember that one? And it focuses heavily, if not primarily, on black women. Beyoncé, who I don't think ever declared herself a victim of the Me Too movement or any sexual abuse scandals, is featured on this page. It's like a tribute, isn't it? And this leads nicely onto the module on black feminism, where your kids will be taught about patriarchy, imperialism, and of course, their favourite topic, white privilege. Your kids can click on those buttons there and learn a bit more. It goes on to make the bold claim that black women actually invented feminism. In the module, they say this. As the iconic American feminist Gloria Steinem said, black women invented feminism. And by the end of this module, you will understand why her claim was not hyperbolic. Interesting, that. If you then move around this dystopian world, you'll be greeted by another module teaching you all about racism and white privilege. They say white privilege protects white people from any form of racial discrimination. This does not mean white people don't face hardships, this is their quotes, by the way, in their lives. It means they don't face challenges that a non-white person faces on a regular basis. For example, a white person apparently does not have to worry about the colour of a plaster not matching their skin tone, unlike a black person. Not being protected means there are more chances of being exposed to a racial prejudice. That's what they say. And a further module from there goes on to say that if you don't believe racism exists because of equal opportunities, then that in itself is racism. They dub it race evasion. This is pure far-left propaganda. And look, I could spend an hour talking you through this and pulling it all apart, but it really begs one question, doesn't it? Why are our governments spending money on utter rubbish like this, that it's clearly completely biased, seemingly only telling one side of the story. And in this case, it's the story of black African people who have an origin from that background. And it's thinly guised bias around it that simply reads more like propaganda than actual history. To me, this seems exceptionally divisive. I've got my panel to go with this through. Broadcaster and journalist Linda Jubilee's here, the businessman and activist Adam Brooks is here, and Lisa McKenzie, academic, journalist, broadcaster, sensation.
And sociologist.
And sociologist. Well, I'm looking forward to digging into that, Lisa. Listen, I didn't even get through the whole thing, right? And I spent quite a long time looking at this today alongside going out and to Keir Starmer's constituency, which we will talk about later. Adam, would you want your kids learning about this at school?
Absolutely not. I teach my children to be nice, not to be racist, not to target anyone for their skin colour, their religion or social class. I bring my kids up as nice people. They don't need to watch this absolute rubbish. At the end of the day, we've got these woke nutters infiltrating organisations, whether it be councils, schools, universities, government, that seem to think that being white is something to be guilty about. No, it's not. You tell my mum that had to grow up in a two-bedroom Bethnal Green flat, 7 of them, that they had white privilege. Please do. Please go and tell the young white boys that are not getting on in school or getting university places that they've got white privilege. Please. Yet we see online many videos at these Palestinian marches or these Iranian marches that we're seeing in London at the moment, where people being racist towards white people, and the police stand there. I see one today. And the police said, just calm down. If it was the other way round and it was a white person saying something very derogatory to a black person, they would be ripped off the streets. We're living in a country now where these Marxist nutters have taken over. Yeah. And things need to change.
Linda, the problem I have when we're looking at this, anti-racism in this whole metaverse doesn't seem to include white people. It seems that white people can't be the victims of racism in the Welsh government's tool that they've worked with this company to build. That was a huge part of it. Of course, white people can experience racism. Of course they can, but my central issue, my main point here to start with, is that I just don't think this will work and will combat racism, because it's not a mandatory programme, so the people who are going to go to this are going to be the people that want to hear this. Therefore, I think it's preaching to the choir, and I don't think it's going to achieve anything realistic. I don't think it's going to help students who could be studying proper subjects, and I think what girls need to do when they want to progress as feminism is do things like study STEM subjects, and I think they need to get to universities and start doing serious degrees, be seriously ambitious and seriously driven. That helps the feminist cause. But really, I think it's the money that's being spent on this, for example, could be better spent on doing a de-radicalisation programme for schools. Well, they tried that. They tried that, Linda. We had to expose that a few weeks ago because all their other programme, which is funded by the Home Office, seemed to target white British kids. Well, we need to tackle that subject properly, because this afternoon I was having this discussion with people, and apparently UAE, which funds many universities in this country, has stopped issuing grants to universities in this country because they've sent students here, they've been radicalised, they've gone back home, and the UAE, guess what, doesn't like it. So I think that, all in all, there's not a part of this that I think is making any kind of sense to me. Lisa.
So I've taught sociology for 20 years. I'm a sociologist. That's a very narrow interpretation of sociology. What that is critical race theory. That's what they're presenting. There's two issues here. Teaching Marxism is not necessarily an evil thing. But the other thing is, I'm not sure, well, I do know why the Welsh Government have done this, because 2 years ago they banned John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, which is an incredible book, which teaches us all about migration and refugees and inequalities and poverty. And I'm really annoyed that sociology is being used like this. In Wales, that has got a great history of working class people fighting for themselves to fight out of poverty. The Chartists, in 1903, there was a quarryman strike. 3 years people were starved out, and they stuck at it. And that is because of landowners and coal miners and coal mine owners who were exploiting people. The Welsh has got a fantastic history of class struggle and class history. And yet they're not telling that story at all.
Do you think there's any value in any of this, Lisa? Do you think there's any value in what they've done here?
I think there is value in... We're a multicultural country now, so there is value in sort of teaching people around different races and different cultures. And also, you know, I can't even understand sort of black interpretations of beauty and hair, etc. I can understand all of that.
But what they've done is... It was one of the biggest modules. It was one bit. I spent more time learning about black people, but there was no other mention of any other race. There was no care for, you know, what about ethnically Celtic people, for example? They might have to look after their hair.
That's the problem with this, is that white working class people who in Wales has actually built Wales has been written completely out.
Can I say very quickly as well, the Welsh had to fight to preserve their own language. I trained as a journalist in Cardiff and Swansea in West Wales, so I know a little bit about the history of the Welsh language. Was there any of that in there?
I mean, was there Aberfan? Is what happened in Aberfan? 116 children were killed.
Do you know, Adam, can I ask you a question? Because many people would argue that, you know, raising awareness of white privilege, you know, is helping combat racial inequality. That would be the argument. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I think this is causing division. This sort of thing causes division. It gets people's backs up. I'm sitting here, you know, pretty angry with all this because I'm in a country where, look, a comedian, a white comedian, if they black their face out, they would be scalded in the media. If a black comedian or an Asian comedian whited up, nothing would be said. So white racism in this country does exist, and it's almost encouraged by these authorities. And look, we've got to remember, white people in the world, we're the minority. I think it's only 10% of the world is white. I bet they don't teach that. It's not... We cannot be ashamed to be white. We're born like this, and we've got to embrace it. No to racism. I will never accept racism. But we've got to be proud to be white.
I don't think that you can defeat racism by creating more talking points about how everybody is to blame for it all. I think we've got... I mean, I grew up in a time I thought was fantastic, where we didn't even discuss racism at school. We didn't discuss people's races at school because nobody cared. We just made it an issue.
Do you know who's not...
Very briefly,
do you know who's not at fault, though, in all of this, whether it's white privilege or whatever? I'll tell you who isn't at fault. White working class people in this country, they are not at fault.
But we're demonised.
By the way, many black people tell me they're fed up with this stuff as well. They just want to get on with their life, and they're having this stuff thrown at them. So this is what my message to all of this is: stop. You're making matters worse. You're making the whole thing worse. Well, look, a Welsh Government spokesman said this. We've invested £1.2 million in further education curriculum for anti-racism since 2022. This pioneering project was delivered overwhelmingly positive outcomes and reflects our commitments to an anti-racist Wales, as well as reflecting similar offers within English institutions. To note, this has not been rolled out in schools. It is for FE colleges, further education colleges. All right, well, it's time now for a great British giveaway. It's your summer sorted £10,000 for a holiday for two, 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
We want you to boost your bank account with an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. You wouldn't need to treat yourself to a holiday, as we're also going to treat you to the perfect getaway too. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from, which means you could be exploring the wonders of Egypt on a Nile River cruise. Or find yourself on a grand tour of Japan, in New Zealand, even enjoying the wonders of India. But you've got to be in it to win it.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, coming up, counter-terror police are reviewing broadcasts by a London-based TV channel who've been accusing them of being a propaganda arm of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. But next...
I am sorry. Sorry, 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 and sorry.
Oh, sorry. Is sorry good enough? With Morgan McSweeney now gone, is Keir Starmer also toast? And I'm going to be bringing those exclusive interviews in his constituency very shortly, so stay tuned.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. What a time to be alive, eh? Morgan McSweeney has resigned from as Sir Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff in the wake of the ongoing Mandelson scandal. The Prime Minister's right-hand man, of course, quit after he faced backlash for pushing for Lord Mandelson to be appointed ambassador to the USA last year. That's despite being warned twice by civil servants about the peer's ties to Jeffrey Epstein. But will this resignation be enough to save Sir Keir Starmer's premiership? Or will using McSweeney as a scapegoat prove to be too little too late? We're now joined down the line by the editor of Spikes Online, Tom Slater, and in the studio, political commentator Andy Twelves. Welcome, gentlemen. What a time to be talking about the Labour Party and, of course, this scandal that's embroiling the entire party at the moment. Andy, I'll start with you. Is Keir Starmer finished?
I mean, yeah, absolutely a quiet weekend. I don't think he's finished right now in the immediacy. I think he's a lot more vulnerable than he was yesterday. That idea that was Keir Starmer really Morgan McSweeney's man, and was Morgan McSweeney Keir Starmer's man, has come to the top of discourse. I think this will give the red meat that or the red hair that the PLP really wanted. He's addressing the Parliamentary Labour Party tomorrow and the Women's Parliamentary Labour Party on Wednesday. So I think it's bought him a bit of time with his backbench MPs. But with a Gorton and Denton by-election coming and the May election coming, I just can't see how those inevitable negative results for the Labour Party will keep the wolves away from Starmer for long.
Tom, is it the case that the Labour Party and the leadership contenders who have been splashing on the front pages, let's face it, saying, I told Keir Starmer I wasn't involved, even though I think that's rubbish, that they didn't think, of course, they were trying to warn him, was what I'm trying to say, Tom. Is it the case now that nobody wants to take the top job because they'd have to be the ones to suffer through multiple defeats in upcoming local elections, and they just don't want to take the mantle right now?
It is looking like a bit of a poison chalice, there's no doubt about that. There's also one slightly under-discussed aspect of this scandal, which is how it affects some of the existing candidates who might have put themselves forward. But there's been a lot about how close Morgan McSweeney was to Peter Mandelson, but also Wes Streeting is someone who politically and personally was quite close to Peter Mandelson and was being talked up as one of the potential kings over the water. There's the Andy Burnham factor, but of course he was blocked from standing in that by-election, something which I think could turn out to be the thing that finally finishes the Keir Starmer premiership off. So I think this is one of the factors that is keeping Starmer in position. It's because of the weakness or inability to move right now of the Alternatives, because of the fact that part of the reason Keir Starmer, a remarkably unimpressive and quite apolitical in many respects individual, became leader of the Labour Party is because there's not a lot of talent within the front ranks of the Labour Party. It's true across Parliament to some extent, but it's particularly acute there. And I think that's one of the things. The only positive for Keir Starmer is a negative. It's that the Alternatives are not really ready to move and are often not up to much snuff to begin with, to be honest.
Let's play a quick video here of Mike Tapp, one of the ministers in the Labour government.
But I do know that Keir Starmer's a good man. I do know that he means it when he apologises. And I also know that he's working hard with Jess Phillips, for example, to ensure that we reduce violence against women and girls and make the country safer for them. So I trust the Prime Minister on this, and I'm confident that when these files are released, the public will agree with that.
Yeah, Andy, what do you make of that?
I think it's obviously a minister trying to protect his principle, which, is an honourable attempt. But, I mean, he's completely lying to himself. He thinks that, this is something that's been really annoying me. In Morgan McSweeney's resignation statement, in all of the addresses so far, it has been Epstein's victims are at the front of our mind when we're doing this thing. Obviously, they were not, otherwise they wouldn't have put Peter Mandelson to the US ambassadorship. And I just cannot think, Morgan McSweeney was the last person to go before Keir Starmer has to go. I just cannot understand how the man who lobbied for him, who allowed Morgan McSweeney to put Peter Mandelson in the US ambassador post, can stay on, especially with the revelations and the speed they're coming out. I think Mike Tapp's lying to himself, to be honest with you, Alex.
Tom, is there electoral cowardice here from the Labour front bench? They were pushing for Boris to resign. They were pushing for other ministers to resign when he was going through scandals, which weren't good scandals, by the way, but I don't think they were as severe as this one. Is it political cowardice in the Labour Party?
It's certainly inconsistency. I mean, towards the tail end of the Tory years, Labour were calling for Boris Johnson or a Tory Prime Minister to resign when a Tory minister did so much as pass wind in a situation they shouldn't have. I mean, it was really almost absurd levels of pearl clutching. Then they landed with a scandal which, as many people have pointed out, has the potential, if it's as bad as it smells, to be the biggest scandal in British politics since the Profumo affair, and yet he's still clinging on. This is the problem with Keir Starmer, because he doesn't really have much politics to him, because he doesn't have a lot of conviction, because his only consistent political view has ever been, I would quite like to be Prime Minister, there's not much else there. All he had was this empty moralism. All he had was being Mr. Rules. So things like this will damage him even more than they otherwise would, particularly in the absence of anything like a compelling agenda domestically.
Tom Slater, editor at Spikes Online, Andy Twelves, political commentator. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for joining me this evening to talk about what looks like it's going to be perhaps the end of Keir Starmer's premiership, if not now, sometime in the near future. Lord Mandelson has previously denied any wrongdoing in relation to Jeffrey Epstein, stating this: "I was never culpable or complicit in his crimes. Like everyone else, I learned the actual truth about him after his death." He added that he had relied on assurances of his innocence that turned out later to be horrendously false. You may have heard some discussion around the Gorton and Denton by-election, which is taking place on Thursday, the 26th of February. The by-election was triggered after the resignation of Andrew Gwynn. The Conservatives have announced Charlotte Cadden as their candidate, Hannah Spencer as the Green Party's candidate. Jack Piercy has been announced as the Lib Dems candidate. Matt Goodwin was announced as Reform UK's candidate. Angeliki Stogia is the Labour Party's candidate. Advance UK have announced Nick Buckley. Sebastian Moore is the Social Democratic Party candidate. The Rejoin EU party announced Joseph O'Meara as their candidate. There is also Dan Clark from the Libertarian Party UK, Sir Oink-a-Lot from the Monster Raving Loony Party, and Hugo Wills is the candidate for the Communist League election campaign. All right, coming up, were grooming gang victims failed twice? First by their abusers, then by the justice system. But next, a London-based channel which regularly praises senior Hamas and Hezbollah commanders is now being reviewed by the Met Police. Should the PM prescribe them immediately? That's next on Alex Armstrong Tonight.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I ticked that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
While the unsettled theme continues across Europe, with areas of low pressure moving through, bringing further spells of wet and windy weather. However, on Monday, something a little bit dry coming into the Canary Islands, but across Iberia, further spells of rain. Likewise across much of Italy, and then running into Greece, an area of low pressure, bringing further spells of rain or heavy showers and some strong winds. Canary Islands seeing the best of the sunshine, otherwise still remaining unsettled.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. For some of us, the new working week will start fairly bright compared to over the weekend, but for most, the week ahead is going to be staying unsettled, and we are going to see further spells of fairly heavy rain at times. It's this weather front here that we need to keep a close eye on for Monday. That's going to bring the focus of the wet weather across the south and the southwest. But back to Sunday evening, and it's a fairly cloudy picture once again. There are some showers in many areas of the UK and some longer spells of rain as well, particularly for the north and the northeast, with a fairly wet and windy night across the northeast of Scotland. Where we do see some clear breaks across the northwest of Scotland and Northern Ireland, we could see one or two fog patches and also perhaps a touch of frost in the countryside. For most, though, it will be a fairly mild night and a frost-free night where the cloud persists. And as I say, a wet and a fairly windy start to the day for Orkney and Shetland, though not as windy as it has been over the weekend. For North West Highland, we could see some sunshine, though, to begin the day on Monday. One or two brighter spells for Northern Ireland as well, but watch out for some early morning fog patches here. Quite a drab, cloudy start to the day across England and Wales, with a few spots of rain here and there, but gradually turning brighter for the Midlands, parts of eastern England and the southeast through the morning, with some sunny spells developing, so feeling quite mild in that sunshine through the afternoon. Otherwise, though, out towards the west, especially across Wales and the southwest of England, here the next batch of wet and windy weather arriving, freshening southeasterly winds and the rain falling on saturated ground, so potentially some flooding later in the day. Temperatures about average for the time of year in the north, but 10 to 12 degrees in the south, so quite mild for the time of year. For Tuesday, it stays unsettled, quite cloudy and often wet, particularly in the east. But once again, another band of rain pushing into Wales and the southwest and maybe Northern Ireland through the afternoon, so further rain is on the way for many of us. It does stay quite mild in the south for the majority of the week, but we are going to start to see temperatures fall away in the north, and by the end of the week we could see some snow in places.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Counter-terror police are reviewing broadcast by a London-based TV channel accused of acting as an Iranian propaganda outlet. Laula TV, I hope I've got that right, has been linked to a network previously sanctioned by the US for ties to Iran's Revolutionary Guard. The channel has praised Hamas and Hezbollah figures as martyrs. Now members of Parliament are asking whether it's promoting a prescribed terrorist group as well, or as pressure grows on Sir Keir Starmer to prescribe the Islamic regime's Revolutionary Guard Corps even. We're now joined in the studio by Iranian journalist Mani Bashrazad. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Very good, very good. Mani, tell us a little bit about this channel, what you found about them.
The interesting thing is, the political class here doesn't understand. This is only the tip of the iceberg of IRGC's propaganda arm in United Kingdom. This organization, Lolo TV, was sanctioned by US Treasury because they found evidence it was financed by the IRGC. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. 30 minutes from GB News studio, there is Islamic Centre of England in the heart of London. The head of that organization, the head of that mosque, is directly chosen by the so-called supreme leader of Iran, which has killed 36,000 of my compatriots in Iran. Why there should be an organization in this free country that is supported, that is financed by the people who are killing innocent children. This is a tragic thing that is happening in Iran. The longest war of the 20th century was between Iraq and Iran for 8 years. In 8 years, Saddam killed 12,000 Iranian civilians. In 2 days, the Islamic Republic has killed 36,000 Iranian civilians. And that's not only killing. They don't give the body of female protesters back to their family. Do you know why? Because they remove their uterus, because they have raped them before killing them. That's the level of violence we're seeing by Islamic Republic. And when I see organizations here like Islamic Centre of England, directly financed by the Islamic Republic, the head of that organization is chosen by the Islamic Republic's leader, makes me go back to a famous philosopher called Karl Popper. He had this idea of tolerance paradox. What does he mean by tolerance paradox? It means that you should be tolerant to everyone. What's the problem with that? If you are tolerant to the enemies of tolerance, they're going to abuse that and they're going to gain power. That's the reason we should not be tolerant to the enemies of tolerance, and the Islamic regime of Iran is the enemy of tolerance.
Mani, of course, we will investigate further and verify some of those claims about the head of the Islamic Centre. Was it of England, do you think you said something like that? Just to make sure we can get our facts right on that. But look, this TV station, Charlie Peters, our national broadcaster reporter here, had blown the lid on this as well recently for national press as well. And it begs the question, how on earth such a TV station was ever allowed to exist in Britain? How do you feel as an Iranian man, in Britain when you see that?
As an Iranian, I was shocked from Press TV when I saw British Parliament members going there, supporting the regime that was killing my compatriots, that was killing teenagers in Iran. From the year 2023 till now, the Islamic regime has killed 86 children in the protest. One of them, Nika Shakarami, a 16-year-old who was raped by IRGC forces. And the problem that I see here is they do not understand the nature of the Islamic regime, which is not a legitimate government. It's an occupied force.
But the fact of the matter is that we've allowed this TV channel to be set up and to grow when you mentioned Press TV set up in 2007, was actually taken down in 2012 because it broke many of Ofcom rules. So why have we allowed this channel, which is doing a lot more than break Ofcom rules, to exist? Why do you think that is?
The main reason is because from the first sight, it's the tip of the iceberg, which people see that as an opposition to the Bahraini government. The Bahraini broadcasters are all nationalized, and then this Lolo TV had this face of being the opposition channel. But the reality is, it's financed, it's supported by the enemies of the people in Middle East, which is the IRGC. If we want peace in Middle East, the first step is proscribing IRGC as a terrorist group, which finances. If people want to free Palestine, they should start from freeing Iran. Because the tragedy in Palestine is financed by Islamic Republic. It's financed by its terrorist groups, which are Hamas, Hezbollah. And I'm saying that Islamic regime is the enemy of Iranian people because they're bringing Iraqi forces from their proxies to kill Iranian people. Which legitimate government would do that?
Adam, your thoughts briefly.
I'm just shocked by hearing some of these stories, and I think it's quite evident that a lot of students and young people in this country need to educate themselves on the tragic circumstances out in Iran, and they've got to, you know, open their mouths, maybe start protesting that instead of some of the other things they're protesting.
You know,
in
earlier we were talking about the education system in Wales. You know, I think we do have a lack of education about the Middle East, actually, and actually understanding what has happened in Iran over the last 50, 60 years would be helpful for us to understand what's happened to the whole of the Middle East.
Geopolitical education.
A brief final word.
Do you know an interesting thing about the history of Iran? The Shah of Iran called it the unholy alliance of the leftists and the Islamists that destroyed Iran. And a brief short point, what people should understand here, to understand why the left is not standing with Iranian women, is Western derangement syndrome. Anything that is against the West automatically gains the moral high ground for the far left. They do not care if they kill innocent people. If they're not white, if they're not Jewish, then there's no news for them to care.
OK, thank you, Manny. Thank you so much for coming in this evening. Really appreciate it. Of course, the Islamic Centre would rebuke those claims. That's what they would say, of course. A Metropolitan Police spokesman said this. This matter referred to us has been passed on to specialist officers within counter-terrorism policing London. Should any potential offences be identified, then depending on the nature of the offences, the CTIRU will either refer the matter to the relevant investigation team within counter-terror policing or to local policing to consider for further investigation. An Ofcom spokesman said this: as the broadcasting regulator, we have an ongoing duty to be satisfied that all broadcast licences are fit and proper to hold their licences, and we will carefully consider any new evidence available. As the online safety regulator, our job is to ensure that platforms in scope of the Online Safety Act have taken appropriate steps to protect people in the UK from illegal content. GB News has approached Lala TV, but are yet to receive a response. All right. Coming up is the fall of Morgan McSweeney, the signal that we are in the end times for Keir Starmer's premiership. But next, are the victims of grooming gangs being betrayed? And of course, I'll have those exclusive clips for you from Keir Starmer's constituency very soon. That's coming up next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel. You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, fresh scrutiny tonight after growing claims that victims of grooming gangs have been betrayed by the justice system. Survivors, including Fiona Goddard, say prosecutors failed to treat racially motivated abuse as hate crime despite explicit racist language used by abusers. Yet sentencing didn't reflect it. Miss Goddard resigned from the victims' liaison panel of the government's National Grooming Gang inquiry last year over concerns it will fail survivors. Now, questions are being raised about whether victims were failed twice. Twice. It's crazy, isn't it? Joining us now is Associate Editor of The Daily Skeptic, Laurie Wustall. Laurie, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Tell us a little bit about the story and how are those survivors feeling?
Well, they're feeling very angry. Fiona certainly is, Alex. And well, I think we've got to lay out here. I mean, even going back to your previous programme, we know there was this focus, and there has been this focus from the British state on racism and looking for racism anywhere it can be found all the time. And that has led to this category, this special category of crime called hate crimes, which the state is supposed to take particularly seriously. Now, we know, and we have known throughout the course of the grooming gang scandal, the rape gang scandal, that these were racially motivated crimes. It's not just the pattern of abuse, these predominantly Pakistani Muslim gangs preying on vulnerable white working class girls, but it's also the language used during the abuse, things like white slag and other things that I can't even repeat on here. And indeed, the dehumanization and what Fiona herself described as racially motivated sexual torture during these offences. And so by any definition at all, these should surely count as hate crimes. And that means that the Crown Prosecution Service should be treating them in this way and should be applying to courts to have that done and have that sentence uplifted, and also to have it announced in court that these were hate crimes. That's a specific legal duty that is on courts to do that, to raise attention to this fact and to treat it with that special seriousness. That is not happening either. And so not only have these girls been betrayed by the foot dragging in addressing the crimes in the first place, but then they've been betrayed again because there's been this unwillingness, for reasons of political correctness, to deal with the racially motivated nature of the crimes.
Laurie, we've got a little clip of Fiona, I believe, Fiona Goddard, speaking at one of these the inquiry. We'll play that just quickly. I'd like to get your reaction to it.
There was a phone call once where she tried reporting me missing, and she said I was being picked up by Asian men and I was being abused. Now, the call handler said back to her, you can't describe them as Asian men because that's racist. You should just be glad your child is being taught a different culture.
Damning stuff, Laurie. What did you make of that?
Well, it is absolutely horrifying. And one of the exchanges that I had with a CPS in the course of this story, so the question was, why hadn't these offences ever been flagged as hate crimes? And that's an internal CPS system where they're supposed to, if there's even the whiff that something might be a hate crime, it will be put on the system. Now, all kinds of processes will be kicked into play. Now, I found 38 different grooming gang offenders whose crimes were never flagged as hate crimes by the CPS when I requested that information. But what they tried to suggest was that actually, well, perhaps it should have been the victims themselves which should have flagged it, or they also tried to put the blame onto the police at one point, and onto people like Fiona, who, as she has described there's actually a lot of pressure on her not to understand these crimes in this way, and on these victims more broadly. And let's remember,
Laurie,
there is the CPS to blame here, and other things too. Right.
We will discuss this more, of course, as this independent inquiry goes on, and please come back and join me to discuss it too. Thank you very much, Laurie Wostall there. A Home Office spokesperson said this: the abuse of children by grooming gangs is one of the most horrific crimes imaginable. We will do everything in our power to ensure these crimes never happen again. That's why we've launched a statutory inquiry equipped with powers and resources required to get to the truth and deliver justice for the survivors. OK, look, don't go anywhere. I'm going to bring you some exclusive footage today that I went and spoke to loads of people at Keir Starmer's constituency. It's damning stuff. Stay tuned after a short break.
Keir Starmer represents the metropolitan elite and not the people of the UK.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. For some of us, the new working week will start fairly bright compared to over the weekend, but for most, the week ahead is going to be staying unsettled, and we are going to see further spells of fairly heavy rain at times. It's this weather front here that we need to keep a close eye on for Monday. That's going to bring the focus of the wet weather across the south and the southwest. But back to Sunday evening, and it's a fairly cloudy picture once again. There are some showers in many areas of the UK and some longer spells of rain as well, particularly for the north and the northeast, with a fairly wet and windy night across the northeast of Scotland. Where we do see some clear breaks across the northwest of Scotland and Northern Ireland, we could see one or two fog patches and also perhaps a touch of frost in the countryside. For most, though, it will be a fairly mild night and a frost-free night where the cloud persists. And as I say, a wet and a fairly windy start to the day for Orkney and Shetland, though not as windy as it has been over the weekend. For North West Highland, we could see some sunshine, though, to begin the day on Monday. One or two brighter spells for Northern Ireland as well, but watch out for some early morning fog patches here. Quite a drab, cloudy start to the day across England and Wales, with a few spots of rain here and there, but gradually turning brighter for the Midlands, parts of eastern England and the southeast through the morning, with some sunny spells developing, so feeling quite mild in that sunshine through the afternoon. Otherwise, though, out towards the west, especially across Wales and the southwest of England, here the next batch of wet and windy weather arriving, freshening southeasterly winds and the rain falling on saturated ground, so potentially some flooding later in the day. Temperatures about average for the time of year in the north, but 10 to 12 degrees in the south, so quite mild for the time of year. For Tuesday, it stays unsettled, quite cloudy and often wet, particularly in the east. But once again, another band of rain pushing into Wales and the southwest and maybe Northern Ireland through the afternoon, so further rain is on the way for many of us. It does stay quite mild in the south for the majority of the week, but we are going to start to see temperatures fall away in the north, and by the end of the week, we could see some snow in places.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British Giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's all on fire, isn't it? 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight.
The reason the Prime Minister picked Peter Mandelson was because we want to do things differently. We recognise the important relationship between our two countries. And I think Peter Mandelson will be a brilliant ambassador for us and will form a very strong partnership with the new administration.
Well, that didn't age well, did it? Breaking tonight, Morgan McSweeney, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, finally resigns over the Mandelson scandal that's embroiling this Labour government. It's been announced tonight that Keir Starmer is set to address his MPs tomorrow. But what does the British public think?
Keir Starmer represents the metropolitan elite and not the people of the UK.
Boy, oh boy, I've got some exclusives for you. Today, I went onto the streets of Keir Starmer's constituency and I asked if they think the Prime Minister should resign next.
I embrace the Christian faith, and very sad to say, from that moment on, we suffered persecution.
A British man who says he was persecuted for converting to Christianity claims the authorities are paralysed by fear of Muslim backlash. His warning is very stark. He says never allow Sharia into mainstream politics like it has been in the UK.
Grooming gangs.
Grooming gangs.
Grooming gangs.
Grooming gang. Prosecutors are failing rape gang victims by not treating crimes against white, working-class girls as hate crimes. That's been claimed by one of the survivors. And front pages are dropping hot. The Guardian. Starmer fights to regain control over party after McSweeney exits. The Telegraph. Starmer plays his last card as McSweeney leaves. Number 10. Oh, it's going to be a big show this evening, isn't it? Joining me to talk about all of this, I've got journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, academic and broadcaster Lisa McKenzie is here too. Trust me, this is going to be a huge hour. Do you think sorry cuts it all for the Prime Minister, or does he need to resign?
I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him.
Well, Well, breaking this evening, Morgan McSweeney has resigned as Sir Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff in the wake of the Mandelson scandal. And guess what? I did today, because you know I love to go out and meet real people. I went out to the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer's constituency, to see what people really think about this scandal embroiling Westminster. I'm here in Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister's constituency. I'm going to be asking people whether they think the Prime Minister should resign. Of course, he's embroiled in the Peter Mandelson scandal. I'm going to be showing people pictures of the Prime Minister, asking them what they think of him, whether he should go now or whether they think actually he should stay. What do you think of the Prime Minister? Keir Starmer, this guy here.
He's a sausage.
He's a sausage. This is his constituency. This is where he represents. Do you think he should resign?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think there's better people that we could bring in. Didn't like him when I voted for him, can't stand him.
This is his constituency we're in here, St Pancras, of course, he represents local people around here. But obviously he's in the press every day at the moment for this Peter Mandelson scandal. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I don't understand why I agreed to let him be. He can try and pass the blame to someone else, but to be honest, he's the bloke that should take the fall.
Do you think he should resign?
I think he should have resigned a long time ago.
Is there any Labour politician that you think could be a good Prime Minister?
No, I don't like any of them. Yeah. There's no one in politics that I really would vote for anywhere.
Personally think the decision was of Cabinet, and his prior Prime Minister as well took the same information. I think Mandelson seems like a very upright individual for a lot of people.
I don't believe that. Yeah.
What do you?
Very sarcastically, of
course.
course.
Well, the very fact that he's linked to Epstein files is not very good for me. I'm Australian, and we dislike Trump and the whole thing extraordinarily.
Yeah.
And we're amazed even that you kind of have a relationship with Trump.
I think always someone will take the fall.
Keir Starmer's obviously in a bit of trouble with the Lord Mandelson scandal. Do you think he should resign over it?
He's got to do, but he won't do. There's no chance he will resign, but he should resign. That Mandelson, Jesus, unbelievable.
Is there any Labour politicians that you think could do the job of Prime Minister better?
No. No, they're all as bad, really, aren't they? I mean, who would you get? We're from
No Angela Rayner?
No, God, no. She resigned once, that's enough. No, there's nobody. They've got to go, all of them.
What do you think of the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer?
Seriously, I think he's made a bit of a mess of the current situation, and he's obviously underestimated the problems of one or two people in the United States. But if I was the Prime Minister in that sort of complex situation, I'd have made similar sorts of mistakes. So I don't blame him overwhelmingly for what's happened, but it seems very likely that they are going to throw him out from the Labour Party.
And so he shouldn't resign?
I think he should wait his time, and I think a successor may well come up, but he certainly shouldn't. The party most certainly shouldn't hurry the whole thing, because that's exactly what the Conservative Party wants.
And I'm sure not all they do is bad. It's just not working. What they're trying just isn't working. So I don't know the answers, but it ain't what we're getting. Reform seems very popular, but I don't know enough about it to make an educated decision on that at the moment. But they all lie, so who knows?
I think the Prime Minister himself should go as well. I think this is like typical of Keir Starmer to put the blame on like one of his aides when it was him. So he's obviously received like the security briefings on Mandelson. The buck should stop with him and he should resign himself.
Yeah, was the apology not enough for you?
No, the apology's not enough. Also because the apology came after he tried to hide behind process. I watched the Prime Minister's questions this week, and he tried to, like, his first port of call was to say we have to go through a process with the, in terms of like reviewing what was under, like, sensitive to national security, tried to stop it being sent to the Security Committee and tried to get the Cabinet Secretary to review it, which is the Cabinet Secretary reports into him. So the fact that the sorry comes after he tried to hide behind that and tried to avoid responsibility makes I think Labour and Tories are both completely finished. I don't think there's any talent in Parliament at all, particularly in the Labour Party. I think ideally they would resign and call an election so we could have someone new, but I don't think they will do that. I think they'll grip onto power as long as they can. They're totally disconnected from their roots and a lot of their electoral base. And they talk to each other and other metropolitan elites rather than addressing the needs of the country. Keir Starmer represents the metropolitan elite and not the people of the UK.
It's absolutely damning stuff, isn't it? It's so hard to find somebody in Keir Starmer's own constituency where he represents his area of St Pancras that was willing to go on record and say they supported him and they thought he was doing a good job. That is, it's incredible, isn't it? And this is heart of liberal London. We were really struggling. We were really, really struggling. Let's go to my panel to get their thoughts on what they've heard from the British public today. Not us, the British public. Journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, academic and broadcaster Lisa Mackenzie are all here. Adam, I'll start with you. A real broad range from young lads we saw at the start there, 21, 22 they told me they were, all the way through to an older generation. But the broad strokes, apart from the odd dissenting voice, was that they just want him gone. They want the Prime Minister to go.
He's the most hated Prime Minister of my lifetime. I keep saying it. Everyone I speak to, whether they're left, right or centre, despises the man. His polls, his personal polls show that. He's so far away from any of us, we cannot connect with him. He's got no personality, that monotone, soulless voice. Labour, if they want to survive, need to get rid of him very, very quickly because they're going to be fourth in the polls across the board very, very soon.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not just what Labour are doing to the British public. It's this man. And he's the face of a crumbling Labour.
Yeah, Lisa, I'll come over to you. Is there any redeeming qualities now that the Prime Minister has come to an arrangement? Obviously, they said it was a mutual discussion and agreement that Morgan McSweeney would leave his office as Chief of Staff. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, this government is flying by light speed levels of dilapidation. It wasn't that long ago we would talk about Sue Gray going.
Yeah, no one cares about these figures, actually.
Yeah.
No one, out in the British public, no one actually cares about this stuff. And what you've just seen from you going out into that constituency is the British public are politically educated, and this is something that the political elite sort of shout all the time. They don't understand.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're saying. They don't understand, but they do understand. And figures like Morgan McSweeney or Sue Gray, they're not important. What is important is cost of living, healthcare, education, housing,
immigration. Don't forget the big one.
I was going to say immigration as well. All of that is what people care about, and none of that is on the agenda.
Yeah, is this what it is, Linda? It's a failure not only of the agenda that people actually want to see things delivered, the things like smashing the gangs. Well, Rishi Sunak ended up smashing more gangs, as far as we're aware, than this government did, in at least in its first year in office. The legal migration crisis is at its highest ever since Keir Starmer, of course, has come into office. All the things they promised you, no tax increases. Well, we know that's stealth by the back door. These tax rises have happened across Britain. No winter fuel reversals. That all happened time and time again. I think people have just felt, what is the point of this government?
But we now have in front of us what is the worst political scandal of my lifetime. This is worse, I believe, even than the Profumo scandal of decades ago. It has cut through in a way which is so clear with the general public. It's not a question of going into the nitty-gritty of the dates and who did this and who did that. In general, the British public has made up its mind that it does not want to be led by someone with no moral compass and no regard to ethical behaviour, at least in a way that seems obvious to me. The fact is, this scandal has cut through, and the fact is that it won't do any good for Morgan McSweeney to resign because he is the advisor.
Yeah.
And heavy the head that wears the crown, the leader has to go, because that's what being a leader is about. It is no good saying the advisor was wrong, because ultimately the decision maker has to carry the can.
When Boris Johnson was in office, Adam, the Prime Minister at the time, of course, was going through the scandal with Dominic Cummings, and Keir Starmer said the buck stops with the Prime Minister, or they're sort of around those sort of words in one way or another. Why does the buck not stop with him now?
Exactly. I quote tweeted Keir Starmer today. Obviously, I weren't going to let him off that one. You said this was the biggest political scandal. I disagree with you for once. The grooming gangs and the rape gangs is the biggest political scandal.
I would say that's a criminal
But what
case.
the thing is, Labour are up to their necks in
all
both.
of it.
So Lord Glasman, the Labour peer today, said on a rival TV channel, he said, new Labour leads to perversion and paedophilia. That is what the average man and woman on the street believe, that this is a really seedy and corrupt party that lets down children and gives cover to child abusers. And that is what people look at Labour at now.
Is there any defence here, Lisa, in the sense that you know, that is the view of many people, Adam.
Yeah,
I'm sure of it. Is there any defence in saying that, you know what, at least they started a national grooming gangs inquiry? Previous government never bothered 14 years, and then they're out pointing fingers. Is there any saving grace there, for at least for them to be able to say, you know what, we're doing something about the rape gang scandal, more so than any government's done in the recent past?
No, there's nothing. There's no saving. And the reason why there isn't is because they've got a massive majority. They could have come in, they're 18 months in, the things that they could have done to change the country with that majority, and they have done nothing. The only thing they have done is make people's lives worse, demonise working class people. And what I would say is what this scandal has done, it's absolutely rocked the whole of the top tier. It's not just Labour. They're all going to feel it now.
The real point here is that our Prime Minister has put some kind of risk calculation first in order, he believes, to put someone over into America who can do trade negotiations and business negotiations better than other people, because he's a Trump whisperer, ahead of the health and the safety and the futures and the lives of girls, literally underage and all over the world. That is truly shocking.
And this is the problem, isn't it? Because people, we would all be talking about this. People draw the connection. They go, well, we've got the rape gang, the Pakistani rape gang scandal on one end of things, and then we've got the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, which is in some way attached to Peter Mandelson now because of his relationship with him. I'm not accusing him of any wrongdoing or being involved in it, but there is a connection people make in their heads, and they go, is this the party that thinks that this is acceptable?
That's what I'm saying.
And that's a huge problem, isn't it?
And I think this is where we are now. What this has done, it's shone a light on the whole rotten mess of it, on all of it. And I think the Tories won't get away with it as well. I think they have actually been shown up as part of this nasty elite privilege. The royal family are part of this.
Yes.
You know, what this has done now is the whole rotten lot of it, and the British public, at least, are looking at this and going, no more now, not for me.
Right. Can I just read something to you, Adam? Go on. This infuriated me when I heard this. Morgan McSweeney resigned, of course, because, you know, this is part of his failure too, and he's admitted that in his letter. In response, the Prime Minister said this: it's been an honour working with Morgan McSweeney for many years. It's largely thanks to his dedication, loyalty and leadership that we won a landslide majority and have the chance to change the country. I mean, what an utterly absurd, tone-deaf, stupid thing to say, to thank the man that's going to bring down this government potentially, Adam. How tone-deaf are these people?
Keir Starmer made the decision, OK? Ministers enact decisions, advisors just advise. Keir Starmer, if he was a strong leader, would have sacked McSweeney for the bad advice, if that is the situation. He has no balls as a Prime Minister. He has no clue about the country and what the state is at the bottom end of this country. He needs to resign. And everyone I speak to, I was in the pub today, it was a busy day in my pub, and everyone said he's got to go. And when I said to him, look, things are going to get worse, you've got to expect. And look, the people that are going to take over, I believe, are going to be worse. But at the end of the day, things have to get worse before they get better. And for him going is one leg of the table kicked away, and then we need one more and it will fall.
Linda, I want to get your reaction to this clip of Mike Tapp, of course, a government minister.
I know. Yeah, I know.
But I do know that Keir Starmer's a good man. I do know that he means it when he apologises. And I also know that he's working hard with Jess Phillips, for example, to ensure that we reduce violence against women and girls and make the country safer for them. So I trust the Prime Minister on this, and I'm confident that when these files are released, the public will agree with that.
I'm utterly speechless. Utterly speechless at anyone who could conceive that was any kind of adequate soundbite. That's the MP for Dover, isn't it, Mike Tapp? Now, that is so ridiculous. To say that he believes him, well, he probably is sorry now. I mean, let's face it. Who wouldn't be in his position?
Well, Morgan McSweeney was sacked, right?
But McSweeney is Peter Mandelson's protege.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think they don't know. They actually don't know. That's what I get the feeling they actually don't know. Lord Glassman today actually did say, the truth is, Starmer, before all this, might not have even known who Epstein was. And that sounds astounding. But I think they are so remote.
I don't buy it personally. But let me put it this to you, because
I think they're so remote, they don't actually understand.
Pat McFadden, the Work and Pension Secretary, was defending this bloke in the TV rounds this morning. So there's no point whatsoever of getting rid of him. And then a few hours. How much? It's a complete circus.
It is a circus, but let's remember, apparently McSweeney is this amazing advisor. He's been advising Keir Starmer since the election and has seen their polling ratings go from 30-odd down to like 15 or 16%. He has advised a Prime Minister that is now the most hated Prime Minister of my lifetime. This guy clearly is not as good as what they say he is. In fact, I would say he's diabolical and they need new advisors.
Linda, the other charge here as well is, if you recall back, there was calls by Labour MPs and commentators saying that they were creating a boys' club in Westminster. That wouldn't have helped when you're looking at vetting that looks at a man like Peter Mandelson, and I read a litany out of his scandals the other night, and any normal person, if you're hiring this bloke for a job and you go, you were sacked here, there's some questionable things that happened here, not you've done anything illegal, but you're not the sort of person I really want working in this, you know, this Puritan government that I've promised people.
That's right. Now, I've interviewed Peter Mandelson. I've spent the day trying to get an interview that when I got there, he refused to do because I wasn't Sir Trevor McDonald, who was the anchor of the programme, and he was just left with me. Eventually, I persuade him to do the interview, and he is really, really difficult. And I'm not joking. To me, it was really obvious that he was arrogant and a narcissist, and he behaved in a really bad way. This is a man, and the story, just by the by, was about fair trade. This is a man who did not care about the story, but cared about his photo opportunity with a famous person. And that went on and on and on, and we are left with this.
Just talking about the Work and Pension Secretary, Pat McFadden, have a look at this.
I think the Prime Minister's acted in good faith throughout. I think Peter Mandelson has put him in a very bad position. When more information came to light last September, he very quickly fired Peter Mandelson. He's horrified by the revelations of the past week. He's apologised to the victims of this, and rightly so. So I think, you know, we will see more when all these vetting documents are published, as I hope they are very soon.
The vetting documents now, Lisa. It's the next part of the process. You know, got to wait for that.
Yeah, I think we've got to have some sympathy with these Labour MPs that have been sent out and saying defend this, because they're looking at this going, oh my God, what are we doing? I mean, every time one of them.
Why don't they resign, Lisa? If it's really that, bad, use your moral conscience. Do what you told the Tories to do with Boris Johnson and show your backbone and resign. But they won't do it.
No, they won't. They won't do it because the party for them is bigger, isn't it? This is the whole. This is the problem. This is the problem with party politics.
The opposite to what Starmer promised us after the election. He said he would put the country before party. They're doing the opposite. It's embarrassing, it's damaging, and he has to go.
It is failing the country. That is it. That is what your job is to do, is to serve the British people. All right, look, Lord Mandelson, of course, has previously denied any wrongdoing in relation to Jeffrey Epstein, stating this: I was never culpable or complicit in his crimes. Like everyone else, I learned the actual truth about him after his death. He added that he had relied on assurances of his innocence that turned out later to be horrendously false. All right. Time for a Great British giveaway now. Your chance to win a luxury summer, 10 grand's worth for 2 people and 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's Hayley Sparks.
We want you to boost your bank account with an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. You wouldn't need to treat yourself to a holiday, as we're also going to treat you to the perfect getaway too. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from, which means you could be exploring the wonders of Egypt on a Nile River cruise, or find yourself on a grand tour of Japan, in New Zealand, even enjoying the wonders of India. But you've got to be in it to win it.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, coming up, we'll have a look at your first pages. First look at tomorrow's front pages, of course, as breaking tonight. Ministers are, quotes, on edge tonight as they worry that Starmer could quit despite denials from Number 10. One minister said there's a feeling he could stand down at any moment. The next 48 hours are going to be crucial. Let's not forget, he's addressing his MPs tomorrow. Is that the start of the end of Keir Starmer? It all could unravel. You never know, it might even unravel tonight. Who knows? But next.
I embrace the Christian faith, and very sad to say, from that moment on, we suffered persecution.
Yeah, this is crazy stuff. A British man who says he was persecuted for converting to Christianity claims the authorities are paralysed by fear of Muslim backlash. That's coming up next on Alex Armstrong Tonight.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
We're sort of all looking on here, hoping this story is right.
I think we've all got a little way to go yet, but apparently the Super 60s, we reach our creative peak at the age of 67, so we've all got ages to go. But what's surprising in this report is who's already 67? Madonna, 67. Yeah. Kevin Bacon, Tim Burton, I could kind of understand. Gary Oldman, maybe. But there's loads of people out there that are already in their creative zenith. They're already putting out more than they ever done before. 63% feel more creative than when they were in their 30s.
Madonna's past her peak. She's not producing or letting anything else.
I'll let you have Liam Gallagher.
I'm not letting you have Madonna, Tim.
I am.
No,
Madonna's
you're not.
still very raunchy and sexy and somebody that I could...
At 67, have you seen the pictures of her recently?
Yes,
no
I
way. No way.
Well, also Paul Weller's in that category as well, and he's still producing.
Super sexy.
Yeah.
But the report says that at 67, you're obviously mainly starting to retire or take a step back. That's when your creative juices flow.
Well,
that you take up something new, like learning a new language, going to concerts more. So something to look forward to in your 60s.
Well, I think it's very true, because I do think, I mean, speaking from experience, I think that this country is ageist, is absolutely ageist, and sort of our industry is ageist.
Which is ironic, because we do have money to spend, you know. We're actually, a little bit more than somebody that's Generation X and Z, that only 25% haven't had a drink in the last 12 months. At least our 50, 60-year-olds still drink.
GB News, the People's Channel.
want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power. Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
A British man's life was, quote, destroyed after converting from Islam to Christianity. It is a harrowing case. Nisar Hussain says he was excommunicated and persecuted, violently targeted, threatened and attacked for years, and consequently developed PTSD. Now he's warning Britain and the West about what he says authorities are too afraid to confront. We're now joined by that Christian convert, Nisar Hussain. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, for being so brave to come on our show. Well, perhaps it would be helpful for our audience to understand what you've gone through from your own words, Nisar.
Obviously, time won't allow me to, to quantify in 20 years what myself. And can I make a strong point, Alex? I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my wife and my amazing 6 children. Who have all suffered equally. So I want to really pay homage to them, actually. But yeah, in essence, I settled in Bradford, and from the point of conversion in 1996, our lives have been made an utter misery. It's been acts of terrorism and one of just a destruction of our lives, our property, hounded from one property to the next, over a 20-year period. And the last 9 years, after we were vacated by armed police, we had to vacate, and we've been living under police protection for the last 9 years, for no other reason than leaving Islam and actually embracing the Christian faith.
Nisar, it's harrowing hearing you. I'm sorry, I'm sort of speechless actually hearing this. It's really shocking. Where did this happen, Nisar?
This happened in Bradford, and I'd like to say that it culminated in a very brutal attack on me in November of 2015. I ended up being kneecapped and suffered a broken hand trying to protect my head from being bludgeoned in. And thank goodness 2 Polish angels came, 2 men came to my aid and saw these cowardly thugs off. This was reported to the police that an attack on me was imminent. And the catalyst was a Pakistani Muslim clan family some doors away. So bear in mind, we'd already moved, actually, okay, after similar scenarios, car torchings, car rammings, drive-by brickings, hostility as soon as they left our house. We were under siege day in, day out. And the Bradford police, the appalling Bradford police, stood by, signed my death warrant and allowed this to happen.
Nisar, have you managed to secure any justice for what happened to you?
No, sir, I haven't secured any justice as yet. I'm currently in the States, okay. So I've been supported to come over here by the Save the Christian Persecution organisation, who found out about my story 3 weeks ago or so. And I'm here actually in the safety and protection of these amazing American people who are also waking up to the threat of Sharia on their doorstep. And so I'm sharing my story. And I would like to say, actually, Sharia has no place in Western civilization in the 21st century.
Nisar, what's your experience of Sharia in the UK? Do you think there's a real issue here? We have many conversations about it here on GB News. We're very open about having these discussions, but politicians play it down, police play it down, authorities play it down. Is there something we should be worried about?
You should be totally worried as a British-born who loves his country. In fact, Britain doesn't deserve myself and my family, having been failed the way we have been failed. Willfully by police, by 4 bishops of Bradford, including Justin Welby, who I appealed to 15 months prior to my attack on the altar of interfaith, ecumenism, multi-faith dialogue, Muslim friendship. These are all wonderful things. But actually, not only that, I've been failed by politicians. George Galloway was my MP at the time, the appalling Naz Shah. I've also had a meeting with Liz Truss as a cabinet minister, who actually, after the first initial meeting, went away and then she was uncontactable. Sajid Javid, actually, as the Home Secretary at the time, also dismissed me. And I can tell you story after story after story of failure on multiple fronts.
Yeah, it's absolutely harrowing.
We're living as eternally displaced people. We were escorted out a year after my attack. It took me 7 months to get back on my feet. And actually, 10 armed police officers came almost crashing through the front door and the rear gate, telling me that they couldn't leave us out of their sight because of their intelligence to suggest our lives were in imminent danger. And on that day, in November of 2016, I left Bradford. I didn't want to go into the safe house because of the failure of Bradford police and the mistrust I had, the deep mistrust. They've signed my death warrant, I'll repeat again, and I don't mind saying it over and again. It's a total failure. It's a failed state. Okay, why? Terrified of being labelled as Islamophobic, as racist. That doesn't give anybody the right and the cause to allow us to have suffered in the manner that we did.
Nisar, is there any circumstances in which you'd feel safe to return to Britain? And if so, what would those be?
Actually, I'm at this moment in time, I'm considering America. Okay, I'm also looking at the apostasy. We have a campaign to actually highlight. It's a genocide case, so we are looking to take 11 Muslim nations to the courts because of their draconian death sentence for those of us who leave Islam, okay? And so, yes, to answer your question again, we need a radical shake-up of government. This current government is an appalling waste of time. They care little for those like me. Shabana Mahmood, I would love to ask her, under Sharia law, because all Muslims are mandated to believe in Sharia, we're as apostates, we have to be killed. Does she want me dead? That's what I would love to ask Shabana Mahmood. Does she want me dead?
Nisar,
and other Muslims, MPs as well.
Nisar, I guess, what do you think needs to fix in Britain in order for you to feel safe to come back here? And what do you think needs to be fixed about Britain in order to ensure Sharia
needs to be fixed. There needs to be a reform of Sharia. Okay, it's a cardinal sin, and it needs to go. It needs a reform.
Nisar, you are an exceptionally brave man. My audience is writing in saying, bless you for speaking out. Please stay safe. You're welcome here on GB News anytime you like. And our thoughts are with you and your family, and we hope you find a safe haven as soon as you can, Nisar. Nisar Hussain, Christian convert there. Thank you so much for being so brave to come on GB News this evening. A West Yorkshire police spokesman previously said hate crime would not be tolerated. They said our priority has always been to work effectively with our partners to minimise the risk to Mr Hussain and ensure that we maximise opportunities to put control measures in place to safeguard him, his family and consider any wider impact upon the communities across West Yorkshire. We're disappointed that Mr Hussain and his family have decided to leave Bradford. Particularly as police and partners have been working together for some time to try and resolve the situation to the benefit of all parties concerned. The spokesman continued, police and partners would like to stress that there are a number of other people living in Bradford district who have not experienced any issues based on their faith conversion to another faith or choosing not to have a faith. It's worth saying, mentioned politicians including Shabana Mahmood, Liz Truss, George Galloway and Sajid Javid are not here to defend themselves, of course. GB News has not verified claims which might be disputed. Coming up, a bombshell in The Sun. Andy leaked envoy docs to Epstein. This is huge. I will see you in just a moment.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, the unsettled theme continues across Europe, with areas of low pressure moving through, bringing further spells of wet and windy weather. However, on Monday, something a little bit drier coming into the Canary Islands, but across Iberia, further spells of rain. Likewise across much of Italy, and then running into Greece, an area of low pressure, bringing further spells of rain or heavy showers and some strong winds. Canary Islands seeing the best of the sunshine, otherwise still remaining unsettled.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. For some of us, the new working week will start fairly bright compared to over the weekend, but for most, the week ahead is going to be staying unsettled, and we are going to see further spells of fairly heavy rain at times. It's this weather front here that we need to keep a close eye on for Monday. That's going to bring the focus of the wet weather across the south and the southwest. But back to Sunday evening, and it's a fairly cloudy picture once again. There are some showers in many areas of the UK and some longer spells of rain as well, particularly for the north and the northeast, with a fairly wet and windy night across the northeast of Scotland. Where we do see some clear breaks across the northwest of Scotland and Northern Ireland, we could see one or two fog patches and also perhaps a touch of frost in the countryside. For most, though, it will be a fairly mild night and a frost-free night where the cloud persists. And as I say, a wet and a fairly windy start to the day for Orkney and Shetland, though not as windy as it has been over the weekend. For North West Highland, we could see some sunshine, though, to begin the day on Monday. One or two brighter spells for Northern Ireland as well, but watch out for some early morning fog patches here. Quite a drab, cloudy start to the day across England and Wales, with a few spots of rain here and there, but gradually turning brighter for the Midlands, parts of eastern England and the southeast through the morning, with some sunny spells developing, so feeling quite mild in that sunshine through the afternoon. Otherwise, though, out towards the west, especially across Wales and the southwest of England, here the next batch of wet and windy weather arriving, freshening southeasterly winds and the rain falling on saturated ground, so potentially some flooding later in the day. Temperatures about average for the time of year in the north, but 10 to 12 degrees in the south, so quite mild for the time of year. For Tuesday, it stays unsettled, quite cloudy and often wet, particularly in the east. But once again, another band of rain pushing into Wales and the southwest and maybe Northern Ireland through the afternoon, so further rain is on the way for many of us. It does stay quite mild in the south for the majority of the week, but we are going to start to see temperatures fall away in the north, and by the end of the week, we could see some snow in places.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Oh, well, brace yourselves, because tomorrow's front pages are more bloodbath, but some big stuff is dropping in them. OK, let's go to The Independent. Starmer's chief of staff quits over Mandelson scandal. The Metro. PM's top aide resigns over Mandelson catastrophe. The Guardian. Starmer fights to regain control over party after McSweeney exits. The Daily Telegraph. Starmer plays his last card as McSweeney leaves. Number 10. And this is a big headline coming up. The Sun. Andy leaked envoy docs to Epstein. And leading the GBnews.com website tonight, Keir Starmer to make address to Labour MPs tomorrow as he battles to save his job. PM makes new chief of staff appointment in bid to cling on to power after Morgan McSweeney's resignation. Well, I mean, I don't know where to start, quite frankly. The front page of The Sun, let's go to it. It is a bombshell stuff, and I have to say this immediately. No one is being accused of any crimes. Everything is alleged here, and we're just going to take the Sun front page here and discuss it. They are alleging on the front page of the Sun tomorrow that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, I'm reading this verbatim here, word for word, leaked trade envoy reports to Jeffrey Epstein, documents show. He passed on an email containing at least 4 assessments in 2010 when acting as a UK global trade envoy. Former head of Royal Protection, Di Davies, said, if he has divulged information of national importance, that must be investigated as a criminal act. Linda.
Well, if he has indeed leaked these documents to Epstein, if it's proven, at the moment it's an allegation, but if it's proven, that is, as the head of the Royal Protection Squad says, a criminal offence. In fact, if you read the Andrew Lowney book, Entitlement, it's very clear that one of the biggest scandals in that book is the amount of money Andrew is alleged to have made when he was our trade envoy around the world. All the connections he made, all the deals he made that were subsidiary to what he was supposed to be doing as a member of the royal family, it is quite clear that not only was he Air Miles Andy, not only was he flown around the world and treated to all this luxury at the taxpayer's expense, but he may, and I say may, already have been lining his own pockets with sidebar meetings.
Andy is in big trouble, Adam.
Yeah.
And obviously Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor I'm sure will refute these claims, and we will have to see a legal process. But how damning is this for the royal family? They thought this was all over, but more and more and more, month after month, week after week, is trickling out.
I call him Prince Andrew because it's easier. I know it's the former Prince Andrew.
Former Prince.
I cannot stand the man. For me, in my opinion, he's a total sleazeball. OK? I don't know anyone that likes him. His behaviour, in my opinion, has been disgusting. And if it is proven that he has done this and passed on sensitive information of this country, I would like to see him rot in prison. And that would be the ultimate embarrassment for the royal family, which I do not think they'll come back from. I think he's embarrassed this country and the royal family around the world.
Lisa, I had India McTaggart here from The Telegraph the other night talking about the massive scandal involving the Rothschild family as well, who are part of this now Epstein files.
Yeah.
Right? This is stretching across multiple elites. Yeah. Across it's crumbling the elite.
But our global elites are global. This is what this is, and our royal family is very much tied into this. The former Andrew, or whoever he is. Whether he has done this or not, we don't know. But we do know he's been embroiled in the old rotten part of it. And so what I'd like to... We've been talking about what Starmer should do. He needs to carry the can. He's the Prime Minister. Well, the King is actually in a position of power. He's the head of...
He's the head of state.
He's the head of the state. He's head of state, and he's head of his family. Yeah. So I'd like to see the King come out and let's do some. I want some grovelling from him.
I've been speaking to people all day about this, right? Out in Keir Starmer's constituency, asking them their thoughts on this. People are appalled on the Epstein files in general. I spoke to people from all over the world because London is people all over the world, Australians, South Africans, everybody, Germans, all similar. People need to pay for this injustice.
Yeah.
And it's so
I think
obvious.
this is the problem.
It's a shame on our country. It's actually a shame, isn't it?
It's a real shame, and it's so upsetting that this dare I say it, powerful male elite has allowed girls and women to suffer in this way is a stain on our national character, and we need to be doing something to clean up properly.
And also they've been used, those girls and women have been used as toys for business and wealthy men.
Right,
so while they're doing business, they've used these women as well.
All right, listen, more front pages have dropped. The Daily Mail says, so how long can Starmer cling on for? We'll get to that after the break. So much happening this evening. Stay with us.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
And you see, I would have thought that the Starmer business had gone away, right? But it hasn't gone away. It'll always be with you, but you control it very well. Indeed, we should point out that Gareth has his voice coach, Amy, in the studio today, here in case anything goes wrong.
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing, having a stammer. You know, unfortunately, there's no cure for it. But I'm part of a speech therapy programme called the Maguire Programme. Myself and my coach, Amy, is on the same programme, and we help each other. And we learn a new way of breathing, new way of speaking, and most importantly, a new way of tackling the mindsets which come with having a stammer, which is fear. This is my most fearful situation.
But, my friend, when you get up on that stage and you put a microphone in your hand and you sing, are you worried about it then? Does it manifest itself then?
No, I mean, every time I sing, or, you know, I've done big West End shows where I've had to act and, you know, read pages of dialogue.
Yeah.
It's just not an issue because I adopt a different persona. I'm not me. I'm, you know, whatever mask I'm wearing, whatever character I'm playing. I'm really unsure how I'll fare without my top on in this next show that I'm doing, Boy Band in the Buff, but let's see.
What is the stammer caused by then? Because some people, you said it's incurable, so that means that there's actually something, there's an issue.
Yeah, it's certainly a kind of mindset thing. It's actually based upon fear, and you know, we have to sort of retrain ourselves. And you know, if you're scared of heights, for instance, what's the best thing to do? To go to the highest building, and eventually you'll get close to the edge.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Right, more front pages here. God, I keep saying it's the bloodbath every day, but it really is. The Daily Mail here. Let's have a quick look at those. So how long can Starmer cling on? 3 interesting parts of this. The headline, of course. Who's that on the right there? Oh, it's Angela Rayner getting a bit of a makeover by the looks of it. She's getting ready for a close-up, as they say there. The top of the Daily Mail also saying why Charles must now apologise to Epstein's victims. I don't think I've seen a newspaper go that far before, so we will definitely be talking about that. The Daily Express, number 10 Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney admits Mandelson mistakes. Our Starmer's days numbered as key aide resigns. Well, I think when everyone's singing off the same hymn sheet, they probably are. Adam, I want to get your thoughts on the front page of the Daily Mail here saying why Charles must now apologise to Epstein's victims, written by one of their commentators.
I'm no Charles fan at all. Made that pretty clear on this channel numerous times. I don't like the man. He's the head of our royal family. His brother is embroiled in this elite plot where young girls and children have been abused. Not saying that Andrew has done that, but he's part of this group. Now, the King has a moral obligation to come out and apologise to these victims, because otherwise he's facilitating what is going on, in my opinion. And we've seen Starmer's got to come out and apologise, so should the King.
It's a really interesting point. Is there a point to be made here, Linda, that the King should apologise for the sins of his brother?
Well, I mean, I think he certainly needs to make some kind of a statement addressing this. I don't know that he actually needs to apologise for his brother, but apologise for leading to an environment that facilitated his brother might be the point. And the point is, how long did the palace know about this? Now, I think they probably know about Andrew's alleged misdemeanours from the time that he was appointed as trade envoy, which
so
puts
you think
us...
you think
I'm certain
that they know all about this?
I'm certain.
That would be pretty damning if they did.
I think that is the case.
But how could they not? Because what I keep asking is, there's policemen with Andrew all the time, with all of them. So how come, you know, if things have happened or he's been in this house...
Well, they know about it.
If they've been in this house, then they know, don't they?
Didn't the security refute the Pizza Express meeting? I think someone come back, I'm sure, and said that they didn't recollect that.
Really?
But you're right. They've always got people with them. For me, I think there's always been suspicions within the family of his alleged
conduct.
Absolutely.
And the king is the head of state, and he says his government. So it's his mess as well.
Yeah.
And you've got to remember, there's the royal family, the royal household, and I think both of them, and most of all the courtiers. Now, the courtiers keep their ears to the ground. I'm certain that they knew elements of what was going on here.
This is very damning. We've got a government in crisis.
Yeah.
We've got a royal family in crisis. At the end of the day, Britain is in crisis. Not just the things that affect us as people, but the whole structure of this country is in crisis.
There you go. How can anyone say Britain isn't broken? It baffles me. Listen, we're going to be digging this. This is serious stuff, these newspaper headlines. We'll be digging into it next. See you in a tick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. For some of us, the new working week will start fairly bright compared to over the weekend, but for most, the week ahead is going to be staying unsettled, and we are going to see further spells of fairly heavy rain at times. It's this weather front here that we need to keep a close eye on for Monday. That's going to bring the focus of the wet weather across the south and the southwest. But back to Sunday evening, and it's a fairly cloudy picture once again. There are some showers in many areas of the UK and some longer spells of rain as well, particularly for the north and the north-east, with a fairly wet and windy night across the north-east of Scotland. Where we do see some clear breaks across the north-west of Scotland and Northern Ireland, we could see one or two fog patches and also perhaps a touch of frost in the countryside. For most, though, it will be a fairly mild night and a frost-free night where the cloud persists. And as I say, a wet and a fairly windy start to the day for Orkney and Shetland, though not as windy as it has been over the weekend. For North West Highland, we could see some sunshine, though, to begin the day on Monday. One or two brighter spells for Northern Ireland as well, but watch out for some early morning fog patches here. Quite a drab, cloudy start to the day across England and Wales, with a few spots of rain here and there, but gradually turning brighter for the Midlands, parts of eastern England and the southeast through the morning, with some sunny spells developing, so feeling quite mild in that sunshine through the afternoon. Otherwise, though, out towards the west, especially across Wales and the southwest of England, here the next batch of wet and windy weather arriving, freshening southeasterly winds and the rain falling on saturated ground, so potentially some flooding later in the day. Temperatures about average for the time of year in the north, but 10 to 12 degrees in the south, so quite mild for the time of year. For Tuesday, it stays unsettled, quite cloudy and often wet, particularly in the east. But once again, another band of rain pushing into Wales and the southwest and maybe Northern Ireland through the afternoon, so further rain is on the way for many of us. It does stay quite mild in the south for the majority of the week, but we are going to start to see temperatures fall away in the north, and by the end of the week, we could see some snow in places.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Wow. Bombshell headlines tonight. This Epstein file stuff is absolutely destroying the elite, the establishment of Britain. The Sun are leading with this bombshell headline here. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor leaked envoy docs to Epstein. Serious stuff here. And of course, every other newspaper is Keir Starmer about to go? We'll bring you the latest on this in just 2 seconds. Literally. Stay with us.
We want you to boost your bank account with an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.